Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli, the host of this podcast, Let's Talk Soul. Over the years, after having interviewed so many people on so many different topics, I realized that what interested my audience wasn't really the individual topics per se, but was how it impacted them, how it touched their soul. So I'll invite you all to lay back, put your feet up, and if you like what you hear, leave a review, 5-star review. I'd appreciate that. So just enjoy your listening. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Claudia Monticelli with a special guest today. And I know I've said that often, but this is off the charts. I'm here with Amanda Kate, and she's speaking to us from Australia. Amanda, say hello to our audience.
Hi, how are you all? I hope you're doing well.
You can
And I
hear
hope
that.
you're ready for a great chat.
Great chat. There's a 10-hour difference between us, and there might be a time lag, but there's nothing. That's no problem. So who is Amanda? Amanda's a kinesiologist, and she'll tell us what that's all about, who has trained to the highest available level, known as Kinesiopractic, and an archetypal, transformational, intuitive life coach based in Southeast and Bayside, Melbourne. Her primary work in any aspect is to help people regain their vitality. So here we're talking of the realm of energy here, smash through their internal glass ceiling and their limitations and find new levels of health, vitality, and abundance. And she works in two major fields. She facilitates healing by finding the root cause of issues that are impacting and impeding physical, chemical, nutritional, and emotional imbalances and stresses in a person's body. And energy field, again, the notion of energy comes out. It seems to be the watchword here. And it's she does this by returning the body to balance. That's the way, that is her route of reaching innate internal intelligence of the body and allow the person to navigate and create a greater balance, health, and energy flow. And I'll include all of her social media and her website where you can find her. Well, Amanda, now I did ask you when we were off recording, what's a nice girl like you doing in a place like that? And you already told me, but since there's so much, I'll get down to brass tacks. What is a kinesiologist?
So the basis of kinesiology is that we work more in that quantum physics type realm. So one of the things that we are looking at is that quantum physicists have proven the universe is 4% physical matter. Mm-hmm. So when we look at that human meat suit that we're walking around in, it's 4% of the picture.
I love that. Meat
so the
suit.
rest
I like
is,
that.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of what it is.
Yeah, sure.
It's our mental, emotional, energetic, sexual, spiritual, relational, financial. It's all those other aspects that create who we are in this world. And what we're looking to do is, the body innately knows, it has an innate wisdom that it knows what it needs to be fully healthy and vital and well. And what interrupts us being that well is stress. And it's either physical, chemical, or emotional.
Now I'll stop you because we're going to go through that in the right around the corner here. But what I want to know is, how did you get into that? What led you?
I don't think anyone makes nobody gets into this work without some kind of big life path and big trauma. So I ended up with chronic fatigue, and it really sent me down looking at the different.
Very interesting.
It was
what
a
does
long
that
journey.
look like, chronic fatigue? If we had to see a person who was overcome with chronic fatigue, what would I be looking at?
Do you know, it really does vary each person. So some days I would wake up and I'd be absolutely fine, and other
Hmm.
days I could barely drag myself out of bed. Sometimes it would present itself in, say, for example, if I did a workout at 9 o'clock in the morning, by 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I was still completely wiped out. And I don't just mean fatigued from the workout, it would be completely wiped
Well,
out. There
and
was no energy left.
did this occur in a context? I'm an American. Americans are known for
Mm,
taking vitamins and minerals, right?
yeah.
Did this occur within a context of supplements as well, or were you not taking supplements? I'm trying to get to the root
Some
cause,
at the time. Yeah, no, look, I wasn't taking supplements. The root cause was emotional abuse and
Okay, okay.
psychological abuse.
All right, all right,
So yeah, I was in a damaging marriage and it
all
was very
right.
toxic.
Uh-huh.
And so the chronic fatigue was the build-up of that.
I see.
Other people, it might be a
I
more physical
see.
thing. Other people, it
Okay.
might be
Good. How
something
long
completely
ago
different.
was this, so I get an idea of how much you've
Yeah.
been at it?
Yeah, look, it really started, that part of the journey started around 2012, 2013.
Okay, so we're in 10 years. Okay. 10 years we've been at this.
Yeah.
Now, but you
Yeah.
then have branched off, and what I just introduced you as was an archetypal, transformational, and intuitive life coach. Now, I work with
Hmm.
archetypal psychology, and I find it
Hmm.
fascinating. My job, even if I don't say that, it's at the basis of what I do. How
Mm.
do you use archetypes in your work as a life
It's a
coach?
It really is a process of looking, I get our light and our shadows. The
Hmm.
ideal is if that you have all of your archetypes in the light, you are enlightened.
Hmm.
Clearly, we've all got some work to do.
Uh-huh.
um,
Well,
but it's
that's a
about getting that
lifelong
balance. And
process. Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And so it really is about tuning into those archetypes that are your passion and purpose archetypes, as in the
Hmm.
ones that you take out into the world regularly. They
Can you
tend to
give
have a
me
special
an
order.
example? Give me an example of either a client or someone, we'll call them Mr. or Mrs. Miss X. Give me an idea of how they present to you in terms of misaligned archetypal um,
Well, we go
representation.
through a massive process, so it's not quite as simple as just
Mm-hmm.
going, okay, I can see those archetypes.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes we do things like our creative nurturer or mother
Mm-hmm.
archetype.
Right.
That can often be very, very easy to see. But
Uh-huh.
some of the others, we might have an archetype in void, which means we're not expressing it at all. Or we
Right.
might have one in the shadow, which means we're overexpressing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, the picture isn't always clear until you've done
Mm-hmm.
some work and you've done some digging.
Mm-hmm. Okay, interesting. Now let's get to the meat. You were talking about our this body as you were talking about the body, and what did you say? The meat
The
covering. What
meat
did you?
suit.
The meat suit. Okay, and I was thinking, if it's a meat suit, I guess it doesn't matter if it's a size 10 or 12 or 14. It's a meat suit. All right. So clearly, when we talk of meat suits, we are uh, intending a metaphysical realm. Now, what is, and we have a broad audience listening, what can you explain to be metaphysics?
So, metaphysical simply means beyond the physical.
Uh-huh.
So, when you look at, say, for example, our stomach, what
Mm-hmm.
does our stomach do in real life? It breaks down food,
Mm-hmm.
grinds it all up so that it can be passed into the small intestine and assimilated through the body, the
Uh-huh.
nutrients. Then, obviously, what's not needed in the body continues its way through until it gets expelled. Metaphysically, the stomach is about how we're taking in everything that goes on around us. So, not just food, sometimes it might be food,
Mm-hmm.
other times it could be information or relationships or our finances. We can't stomach it. Thinking about our language,
Mm-hmm.
I just can't stomach it anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I feel so full. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I could absorb anything more. It's really that language of going, if your stomach is full, or if you have a hunger for life, if somebody's being greedy of your energy, or if you're being greedy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we look at. So when people come in, I will listen to the language
Right.
and
Good.
often by
Good.
those sorts of things that they're
Good.
saying,
Good.
get
Another
an
thing,
idea of things that are going under the
as you're talking,
surface.
you're making me think that every organ of the body has, like you say, a functional definition, but also a metaphysical definition. And an example is the kidney. If a person has kidney trouble, it's blood. It's their very, it represents symbolically it's blood. And so there's a different picture that emerges from that kind of reasoning. How do you use metaphysics in your work?
Oh, I don't go through a session without using metaphysics.
Okay.
So, you use the example of a kidney.
Right.
The kidney's job is to filter water and waste down into the bladder, but then to reabsorb what it needs to reabsorb into the bloodstream.
Yeah.
Now, if you think about that in terms of us filtering what's going on, the kidney meridian also looks at our fears and phobias and our identity.
Right.
So there's a lot of heavy stuff that sits in that. So again, how are we filtering what we need to keep and what needs to go? Or are we filtering what needs to keep and what needs to go? Or are we in a place of stress where we're just like, oh, screw it, that can go there, that can go there. And not being discerning about what we are bringing into each place. So there's everything comes into metaphysics. My Achilles, for example, have been sore the last couple of months, and it's because I'm stepping into a new chapter. I'm stepping into a new life path, a new 7-year cycle. And so my Achilles have been really tight because, of course, this is unknown. I'm not sure. So my heels and my Achilles, that bit that should be flexibly moving me forward with nourishment and nurturing, are holding on a little bit. Yeah. So I'm working at the moment on releasing that with a number of different professionals from different modalities. So you can see that often our physical, mental, emotional aspects of self, the mind, body, spirit, gets expressed in those physical discomforts or in our language and the way we're describing life.
Hang on just a minute. Hang on, Kate. Hang on, Amanda. You blanked out just a moment. So when we were talking before of the shoulders, just this last phrase, I didn't get that with the audio just bleeped out a little bit. Do you remember what you were saying?
Yeah, that's all right. I was just saying that, for example, our shoulders, we hold a lot of grief in, or I can't shoulder that burden anymore.
Right.
So you can often hear language coming through. And that gives us an idea of what's going on beyond just the physical.
So now we're getting into an area that you yourself suggested as a topic, esoteric wisdom. Now, we know that truth is one thing, but wisdom is another. And when we talk about esoteric, again, I'm going to ask you to define that. And when you put those together, esoteric wisdom, what exactly do you mean by that?
For me, the esotericism is that as within, so without. It's the macro world being shown to us in the micro world and vice versa. So sometimes we might be going through something and we might be in a bit of denial about it, but we're seeing everybody else go through it. And you go, hang on a minute, when you get that little alignment. Now, for me, the wisdom part comes on. It's come on more and more since I have been doing more of the deep work in terms of I can now recognize those similarities. Even when I walk on the beach in the morning, the sea is often reflecting my mood. The energy of the ocean, the energy of, the wind, for example, this morning was really reflecting that mood.
When you were saying, Amanda, you were saying, especially when I do the deep work and I'm thinking, how deep is that work and how low, of course, we've all gone through things like this and we all go back to work, right? And I could remember at the beginning of my work and the energy woman, my friend and colleague, said to me, you have to go through a lot of, very deep work. I'm thinking, how deep? How deep?
Yeah.
How deep
I think we always ask
be?
that question, don't we?
Yeah. Let's say that from how you have been talking so far, I get the impression that there are a myriad of areas you pull from, just like Leonardo da Vinci's drawing of the man, the Renaissance man, coming from all over the place. Now, but you do have one particular thing that you mentioned. One particular thing that you mentioned is the mind, body, soul connection. Now, we get this from what you have said so far. There is obviously a connection, but you talk about spirituality as a paradox. A paradox in what way?
So, for example, if you're feeling angry, you're not just feeling angry. You could hold anger and sadness, or anger and happiness, or you can hold multiple emotions at once, and it doesn't mean one is right and one is wrong.
Right.
Likewise, I can hold forgiveness for people in my hand without condoning some of their behaviors. It is a really deep feeling of being able to hold conflicting ideas in your head and in your soul at the same time without making it be an either or. It is a both and more. And often we want to go into black, white, yes, no, right, wrong. But oftentimes there are multiple seemingly conflicting ideas that are all true at the same time.
Yeah, you're right. Can you give us an example of the conflict and the paradox that you mean? Give me you can use a client if you'd like without mentioning the person's name.
Look, there are people that we can deeply know have hurt us. And we can sit with a love for them as a soul being. We can sit with them for compassion for their trauma. We can sit with them for wrath, and wrath for me is justified anger. We can still hold wrath for them. We cannot condone their behaviors, and we can hold all of that comfortably at the same time. That's when we kind of know we've done our work, I guess, is that we can look at these people who've harmed us and we can hold all of the stuff that seems to conflict each other in our hands and go, yeah, actually, that's all true. That is all true all at once.
I'm on your website. The address is amandakate.com.au. And what comes up immediately, because I wanted to talk about the book, is this book, Divine, Messy, Human. Now, when did you put this out? When was it? When did it see the light?
22nd of February. Yeah, 22nd
this year.
of February last year. So 22/2/22.
Oh, 22/2/22. Okay.
Yeah.
A spiritual, the subtitle is A Spiritual Guide to Promoting Internal Truth over External Influence.
To prioritizing
internal
truth.
Oh, I saw promoting here. I'm reading promoting, but
That's on
the cover, exactly on the cover, it says prioritizing, but in the description it says promoting. Maybe that was maybe that was a paradox. Now, is this your first? Yeah, no, I see my books. There's a page, my books, and there are 3, and I don't know in which order. There is a digital copy and a hard copy of the same book entitled The Anxiety Relief. When was this published?
The Anxiety Relief Handbook, I think, was published in 2021, maybe?
Okay, the year before, at least.
I'm not totally sure. Yeah. It was one of those multi-author books that I did at the time, and yeah.
Yeah. And how was the writing process for you? Was this the first time you were writing, or have you had any kind of background in writing or journaling or blogging?
Look, I've done a lot of writing. I was in communications in my life pre-healing world. So, yes.
And so you know what it means to edit, change, outline, all of that. Okay. So was the process linear and creative and seamless for your first book, or not?
I would take one out of the 3. I would take the creative.
Okay. Was not seamless.
The linear, definitely not. And well, I think that's one of those things we would love it to be linear and
Yeah,
seamless, but
yeah,
what
yeah.
is really?
Really, really. Now, what can you, if you
Mm.
had to give one piece of advice to our listeners, or one, say, golden rule or a suggestion, before we go, what would you want them to hear or abide by or take to heart?
That if we slow down and listen deeply enough, we always know our own truth.
Okay. Okay. So this is sort of comes from a series of different backgrounds, from mindfulness, from consciousness, from a different, from being aware. Interesting. So interesting. So what about the next book? When are we going to expect the next one?
I have a drawer full of notes and sticky notes. I have lots and lots of pages and huge amounts of notes on my phone. So we shall see when I can carve out the time to
Okay, so
actually
that means
start writing some of them up.
2222022. I'll have to think of the next numerology exit portal for you. Thank you so much for joining us, Amanda. It was a pleasure.
Oh, my absolute
I hope
pleasure.
to have you on again when we could talk more specifically about your book, your latest book.
Beautiful.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.